Hello out there in the Mad River Valley, and welcome to Theater Time with Doug Bergstein. And, well, I'm Doug Bergstein, and I am here with a special guest. Oh, they're all special, but you're extra special, Ruth Ann. Ruth Ann Pattee, who is directing a show not coming up soon. Well, by the time this airs, it will be coming up soon. But we're going to talk about auditions for Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap.
Yes, and we're the shows are in the fall. They're in October.
Yes.
But we're going to have auditions at the end of July. So it is really coming up.
It is coming
quickly.
up.
It will definitely be here before we know it. And mostly we audition a little bit in advance because we want to really take some time to really feel out the plot and make sure the characters understand, or the actors understand their characters' motives, because especially in a murder mystery, there's a lot of subtext and underlying stuff.
A lot of backstory in this.
Yeah.
And so you talked about auditions being in July,
Yes.
and then the show being in October. Do you anticipate starting auditions right off the bat in August?
Rehearsals? Yeah,
Sorry,
definitely.
rehearsals.
Yes, and generally at the Valley Players, we only rehearse about 3 days a week for a couple hours each time. So it's not a huge commitment.
Yeah.
And some of these characters are not on stage as much as others.
Okay.
So if you're thinking about auditioning, it's relative to the part that you get as to how much time really your commitment is until we get to about mid-September.
And then it's crunch
And then
time.
everybody is going to be needed
Yeah.
for our opening on October 4th.
Okay, so I think perhaps we jumped ahead a little bit.
I know, I'm just so excited.
I know. So tell me, let's talk about Agatha Christie's famous. Everyone knows that name,
love
but
her.
A Mousetrap. I've heard it. I don't know the story. So just give us a rough outline of the story.
So a little background. The Mousetrap was written 70 years ago. It debuted on the London West End, and it has remained open for 70 years.
Let me do some back of the envelope math.
I don't even know, man. Tell me what year it
1954.
was. Thank you. So it holds the record as the longest continually running professional production on the West End in London.
Okay.
It was only shut down during the pandemic.
Okay.
And so nobody's counting that. We're just
Right, because
erasing
everything
that.
shut down.
Right.
So what is it about this that makes it so
good
enduring?
question. It is. It's the kind of story that has elements that are timeless. And unfortunately, some of those elements are not exactly what we would like to see in our society, but it is representative of problems that continue even today.
So it's not just happy-go-lucky.
It's not just happy-go-lucky,
Okay.
but it has very comedic moments, and it speaks to a lot of people, and the way things are resolved not happy, but it is satisfactory in the end. There is a resolution to the play, where some plays you never know, what does that mean?
I guess I always thought this was a murder mystery.
It is.
Oh, it is a murder mystery.
So,
okay.
well, it's very
Sort of.
complex,
Okay.
which I think is another reason why it's so enduring, because there's a lot going on in this play. So without giving too much away, I will say the play centers in an old mansion, which is, of course, a great place for a murder mystery. And this house is in Monkwell, England, which is outside of London. And it was recently purchased by a young married couple. They've only been married for about a year. And they have the idea to turn it into like a bed and breakfast, the English equivalent of whatever that is.
Just like all the people moving to Vermont.
Well,
let's take the rest of our life off. We'll run a bed and breakfast. It'll be fun.
And I'll tell you, this play has more Vermont likenesses. And I wish that I could set it in Vermont, but that's not possible because of copyright infringement.
Yeah.
So, but if you close your eyes and use your imagination, you would believe that this play could easily take place in Vermont. But anyway, so this young married couple has purchased this home, and they're very excited because it's their first weekend where they have guests, and they're expecting about 5 guests to arrive. And of course, the guests have various different reasons why they're coming there. And I will also say that the play takes place in the winter, and on the morning of the day the play starts, the whole play takes place only over 2 days. So it's all very time consistent.
Okay.
And there's a huge snowstorm, of course, as there is.
As there is.
Although I don't know if there is so much in England anymore. But
Right.
but anyway, that's another reason why it's sort of Vermont-y.
Yeah.
But the characters, in case you're wanting to audition, folks who are listening, they range in age from 20s to 60s or even older.
Okay.
It really depends on who comes to audition. The ages are adjustable. So there's Molly Ralston and her husband Giles, who are the young couple that have bought the home.
Okay.
And the guests they are expecting, because there's always unexpected guests.
The unexpected guests.
The guests they are expecting are Mrs. Boyle, who's an older woman who has in the past been on a panel of judges who determine various social things that happen in their town. So, for example, if someone came with a petition against their neighbor because the dog was barking or whatever, she's on this judge. So she's not like a high circuit court judge or anything, but she was. She's now retired, but she's a decision maker, and she's also very crabby, which can be really fun to play. I must say.
Do you know that from experience?
I do.
Yeah.
And then there's also Major Metcalf, who's also an older fellow. He's a retired military man. And we're not going to explain why these people have come there quite yet. Sure. There's a younger woman in her early to mid-20s, maybe early 30s, called Miss Casewell. And she is a little bit hard to figure out. Not really quite sure what's motivating her. She's not very talkative or revealing of her background. So she's a little mysterious. Okay. Mr. Pavaccini, actually I said that wrong. Paravaccini is a guy who just turns up out of the blue because he claims that his car ran into a snowdrift in the snowstorm, and then he walked to the manor because he had
So he is an unexpected guest.
He is an unexpected guest.
Okay.
And then there's also Sergeant Trotter, who's a young police officer who arrives to inform the people at the manor that there has been a murder nearby. And so he comes in on skis because there's no way to get down the road because, as you know, the guy ran his car into the... So anyway, he comes in on skis and sets a lot of the plot in motion when he arrives. So it's very fun, but there is definitely a social consciousness about the play as well, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And it's there's a lot of twists and turns. It's a lot for actors to dig their teeth into if they want to really experience what it's like to be a character that has this sort of like hidden backstory, and yet it causes you to react in certain ways to things. Okay. So it's going to be good.
And so plays often don't necessarily have that backstory written in.
Not always.
Does this play give a little backstory for each character?
Well, not right off the top. I mean, as an actor, the cast and I will definitely read through the script and discuss it and find those hidden gems in the script.
So
but it's all
don't
there.
have to say, oh my God, I don't want to do that because I can't come up with an entire backstory for a character.
No, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
It's all very clearly explained by the end. The audience will want to know all of this as well because it's a lot of motives that cause people to act in particular ways.
I see. Okay.
But it's very enduring, and I think that it's just kind of fun to have a mystery in the fall. For me, that's a fun time of year for that. It's kind of like getting colder, and people, I don't know why. People want to shiver a little bit. But yes, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 8 characters, and I also just wanted to say that while there are suggested stage ages for these characters, so the author has
20 to 60-ish.
Right. So the author has Agatha Christie had a certain age range in mind, but in community theater, Sometimes we have to adjust that for ourselves depending on who comes. So I'm open to people coming to audition who are 18 years or older. And if, we have to adjust the sort of age range based on the story timeline, we can do that. And I also feel that out of these 8 parts, there's 3 female presenting roles and 4 male presenting roles. But I'm willing to consider auditioners of any gender for any role.
So you only said 7. Does that mean there's one that doesn't
What did I?
3 and 4.
I messed up. Then.
Okay.
3 and 5.
3 and 5. Okay.
So it's 3 female presenting and 5 male presenting.
So is it easier with makeup to make someone look older or younger?
Oh, absolutely.
Older.
Older, I think.
Yeah.
But there's tricks to make people look younger as well.
Cosmetic surgery.
Which we will not pay for. But it's, when yes, I want to present the play in the way that the author intended it.
Of course.
But it's also about being a community theater group that is wanting to be in that role for the community so that people can come and audition and experience this. And I will also say that if you have never been on stage before, I wouldn't discourage anyone who's new and who's maybe wanted to try it, or maybe you did it back in high school and now it's 20 years later or whatever. Come on down, come audition, and we'll see if we can
experience it.
Do it, yeah. And it's always good. I would never discourage anyone from auditioning. It's a great experience to audition.
I did notice one of those was a radio announcer. Is that person ever on stage,
well,
or are you going to duplicate?
That your part?
Oh.
No.
Welcome.
That's an offstage voice that you can pre-record prior to the play.
I see. Okay.
He pops in now and again. BBC news reporter. So, And yes, we will be doing what's called renounced pronunciation, which is that typical English BBC accent. So it's posh. It's not any kind of... And I believe they all have it. Some may not have it quite to the degree, but generally received pronunciation, sorry, I think I misspoke before, will be used. And we'll have tutors or materials to help people learn that pronunciation.
Well, that's cool. That sounds like a fun challenge.
Yeah, it's always kind of fun to learn an accent.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty easy one because there's so much available
out there to listen to.
YouTube videos. I mean, just listen to the BBC NewsHour on NPR every day. That's what I do.
So, how would you describe yourself as a director?
How would you describe it?
Yes,
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really feel like I'm pretty open. I really like to involve the actors in some of the decision making, especially when it comes to characterization. But I also do feel there can be too many cooks in a kitchen. So somebody's got to have the vision. Somebody's got to have the general outline of the idea.
Yeah.
And that is me. I'm most flexible about blocking, which is where the actors stand on the stage when they move, things like that. That's very flexible as far as I'm concerned, depending on if it makes sense in the action of the play.
Right.
But I really like to involve the actors in a lot of discussion. And the only thing that I'm not flexible about is people who miss rehearsal. So I try to take a lot of time to construct a schedule.
When people say they can make it.
When people say they can make it based on, of course, if something comes up weird. But I like to try not to waste anybody's time.
Yeah.
So I try to make that schedule so that when you come to rehearsal, you're working on your stuff and you're not just sitting around.
Yeah. Great.
So I think I'm kind of friendly. I hope people think I'm friendly.
Cool.
And I like to have fun. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So do you have some favorite things that you've directed in the past?
Oh, yes. Well, so believe it or not, I've been working with the Valley Players since 1996.
Yowza.
Yeah.
That is like,
it's a long time.
That's,
I think you only have 1 year on me.
That's 28 years ago.
28 years ago, wow. So it's a long time to think about how many plays I've directed, but I will say I do like directing musicals as well, although that, of course, lends a whole nother level of complication and layer on it. But I really loved The Mystery of Edwin Drood, another mystery, but that was a musical. And that was a super fun time and a really wonderful cast. I think that was around 2005. And then I really liked what I like to call the best play that nobody ever saw, called Almost Maine.
Oh, hey, I was in
Because
that.
I know, and it was really good, but it was in February, and there was a lot of, that year it was very snowy and cold, so we did have a few performances where there were maybe like your wife and her family, that was it.
Right, I had people over for dinner,
like
and
that.
then so 4 people came.
But that's a beautiful show, and it's I think it holds the designation of being the most performed community theater show in the United States or something like that, because it's very
a lot of high
flexible.
school kids
a lot of
do
high
it,
schools
which is
do it.
fascinating because it's really about significant relationships. But I mean, it's reachable, I suppose.
Yeah. And I will also say I really enjoyed the last murder mystery I directed, which was Murder by Membership Only, which was at the Valley Players last winter.
Was that your last one, or was Clue your last one?
No, Murder was
more recently.
More recent.
Okay.
Clue was good too.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that play because we did double cast a few roles, so there was a really interesting way of working with actors, so that yes, they were primarily the same character, and yet were able to sort of bring their own little personal inflection to it.
Two people are going to.
They were different.
Undoubtedly be a little bit different.
Yeah, they were different, but I thought it was really interesting, and I think that some of the audience came back
to see the other person.
The other persons or people.
Yeah.
Because it was really interesting. Yeah, it was fun.
Cool. Okay, so The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. So you have 2 auditions, I see.
Yes.
Sunday, July 28th at 4 p.m.
Right.
And then Tuesday, July 30th at 6:30 p.m. And then callbacks. What's a callback?
So callbacks are if we get so many people at both auditions that I need to consider who I'm going to cast, and may unfortunately not be able to cast everyone, which often happens. I might want to see people together and perhaps run some different scenes or things like that. Sometimes people, and you don't have to come to both nights. So sometimes people come on Sunday, but they don't come on Tuesday. But maybe I want to see this person who came Sunday and that person who came Tuesday together. It's very helpful. And I will also say auditions are very friendly. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to rehearse a monologue or anything like that. I'm going to have pages from the script that will be there for folks to read. You definitely don't have to memorize them. And I'm very excited because I came home from my trip this weekend to find the script in my mailbox. So
cool.
I'm going to put a few of those pages up on our website so that people can see it in advance, as well as the audition form. So it's still a ways away, but all that information will be on our website at valleyplayers.com. And when you come to the audition, we'll have a little chat first, get to know each other a little bit, the whole group together. The auditions are not private. Everybody watches everybody else. And we'll put together a few scenes. I also like to do this little game when we for a murder mystery where, because, as I said in the beginning, so many characters in the play have ulterior motives.
Sure, right.
I like to write down some clues on cards and then give them to the actors who are auditioning so it may inform them of how they should read the scene or what have you.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that too. It's kind of fun.
So people should show up on time.
Oh, please.
And expect to be there the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
which is like 2 hours.
It depends on how many people come.
Right. If there are only 4 people, then maybe it's not that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would assume an hour and a half if we have people, and it's nice to have that amount of time in case you want to read a lot of different combinations of things. When there's a lot of people, it's really hard to put. Like, say I have 4 scenes, it's kind of hard to switch off everybody if there's a lot of people.
But if people say, hey, I really want to audition for this part, can they focus on that if that's what they don't want anything else, they only want that?
Yeah, they can be considered for that. I'm willing to consider that. But I also ask that people remain open-minded because quite often in the 28 years or whatever you just said, oh God, that I've been doing this and also as well as a theater educator, I find that people sometimes fit different parts that they don't realize that they're good for. And I cannot tell you how many times after a show has been over, an actor has said to me, I'm so glad you put me in that role. I loved it, and I never would have thought I was right for that. I'm like, hey, trust your director.
That's right. Okay, so speaking of those callbacks, because we kind of left that hanging.
Yes.
So everything's happening within a week, that last
Yes.
week of July. So the callbacks are Thursday, August 1st, which is a day after or 2 days after the second set of auditions. So and that's also at 6:30.
Yeah, and then we'll hope to let everyone know by the weekend what the cast list is and get going right on that Sunday. So you mentioned auditions are Sunday and Tuesday with callbacks on Thursday. That's the same rehearsal schedule we will follow.
Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.
So and approximately those times
and
as well.
I imagine, because people do have conflicts, I imagine you can't have conflicts during the show.
Oh, no.
So October 4th through 10th, 2 weekends.
20th. I don't know why that's...
Why did
No, it was on the website that way, and I fixed it.
I thought that was a little short.
I fixed it.
Okay, 4th through 20th.
Yes, so it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 3 weekends. And the week leading up to the first show is called Hell Week or Production Week, whatever you want to call it. I call it Production Week. And everyone needs to be there that weekend as well.
Okay.
Or that week.
Yeah.
So starting about September 29th or so, it's a pretty ongoing commitment there. Yeah. I mean, I'm totally willing to be flexible about things. One thing I will explain to the cast and can explain to everyone listening and watching now is that there's this momentum that begins to build once everyone has learned their lines, or at least has close to it. And once we've gone through all of the scenes at least once, and now we're really putting it together and starting to run the show, as we say. And when someone's missing, it becomes very difficult for the other people.
Yeah.
A lot of times kids will say to me, oh, I'll just miss this one and I'll make up and I'll do all the work to make it up. And I'm like, well, it's not all about you. It's about everyone else in the cast as well.
Interacting with you.
Yeah. So I do appreciate people that know their schedule far enough in advance to say, yes, I can commit Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday if I'm needed. Not everyone will be needed every time, like I said, up until about mid-September. So, but we can discuss all of that at auditions when all of you fun people come to audition.
Okay, well, Ruth Ann, you have answered every single question on here, especially because I don't have any questions. But, well, you've laid it all out. You've convinced me. I plan to audition. So thanks for coming.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having
introducing
me.
us. Sure.
All right.
So out there in the Mad River Valley, auditions coming up on Sunday, July 28th, Tuesday, July 30th, callbacks Thursday, August 1st for The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.